Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. We're talking with expats and thought leaders about moving abroad, remote work, visas, and all the fun and practical knowledge that you need to know to follow in their footsteps. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. This episode is brought to you by my friends over at Make My Move. Many of you are already aware that there are places around the world that want to attract remote workers to come and live there. But did you know that some of them will actually pay you to do so? Yeah, that's right. And aside from the cash incentives these towns might offer you, there are other incredible benefits ranging from free babysitting to concert tickets and even free healthcare. These places also make a terrific home base for digital nomads with super fast internet, friendly neighbors, and affordability and close proximity to major airports. In fact, the remote workers who relocate typically save around $20,000 per year by moving to these new communities. But perhaps most importantly, the locals in those communities are truly excited to welcome new movers in and get them plugged into the local network. The problem is, where do you start? But luckily, Make My Move is your one-stop shop for all things related to these towns. Since 2021, they've helped more than 1,000 remote workers and their families relocate, and through their platform, you can explore all the places that are offering incentives to come and live there, get personalized help to find the place that's right for you, connect with the locals, super important, and access support services to actually make the move a reality. Take advantage of all the benefits that come with your location independence by checking out makemymove.com via the link in the show notes. My guest today is my new friend Johannes, who is the founder of Nomad Cruise, Nomad Safari, and Nomad Base, three organizations that you may have heard of if you're in the digital nomad world. And if you're not, then you may want to stick around and hear a little bit more about them. Johannes is one of the OGs of the digital nomad game. He's been doing this since 2010 and has met people like Tim Ferriss, which we get into, who are early on in the digital nomad building businesses online kind of world and traveling the world doing it. So he's been doing this for a while, and he's brought together thousands of people on some pretty epic events traveling around the world together. So just a blast diving into some of that, what they're doing, and learning a little bit more about the origin stories and learning a little bit more about his background, because I didn't know a lot of this, although I've been following him for some time. So really enjoyed this one. I hope you guys will as well. Please help me in welcoming Johannes to About Abroad. Man, so as I understand it, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you were like one of the pioneers in the digital nomad space. Like you've been nomading around since like 2010 or something, I read. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, when I started to be a nomad, there were just maybe 5 blogs about this topic. Yeah, I didn't even know the word digital nomad. I had just read the 4 Work Week a year before and been working on my own online business and kind of made this happen for myself. Yeah, after a breakup in South Africa, I started to travel. And that was the beginning of my nomad life when I was just traveling in 2010. But I didn't know about the term or anything. I just kind of, felt a little bit inspired by the 4 Work Week and started to travel the world.
Man, I think like a lot of people in this world that you and I find ourselves in are big fans of the 4-hour work week. It kind of shaped a lot of the way that we think about work and whatnot. And so I'm also one of those. I fall into that category. I don't think I have as tight a relationship with it as you have. You've actually built the 4-hour work week lifestyle, which I think is pretty awesome. You don't meet a lot of people that actually like followed through with it the way that you did, is because as I understand it, you actually went on to build that type of business that supports that lifestyle.
Yes, like actually in the beginning when I started to travel, when I was living in South Africa after I studied there, and I met my ex there, and so I needed to make something run. I needed to have some kind of business, and it was very difficult, to go back and forth between South Africa and Germany, where I'm from, and so I read this this book, The 4 Work Week, which helped me to inspired me to start some kind of online business. And the first thing that I did was I was actually a virtual assistant, working for, Swiss companies, making euros in South Africa. And that worked pretty well. And that kind of gave me the possibility to learn more, to really learn, then dive into online marketing. And eventually I helped my mom with one of her business ideas. And we ended up, it had worked pretty well. And I helped her with her, therapy cards business, which took off and which eventually allowed me to kind of automate a lot of the Google advertising back at that time and travel the world.
Man, that's incredible. I think we were chatting a little bit off air before we got started, and you mentioned this, but I don't even think you realized what a big deal it was. So you actually had a chance to meet Tim Ferriss along the way somewhere or something?
Yes, in 2010, when I was living in Cape Town, he came to write one of his books there with his brother, and then he organized a meetup and a Q&A session, and it was really really inspiring. Like, I learned from him at that Q&A session that he just did read a lot of books. He was citing other people all the time. We also had a short chat, and a lot of the things that when I went to that meetup, I kept in mind. Yeah, it was very inspiring, and he did, like, a lot of the things that he did and that he wrote about was definitely great help for my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the book that pops up the most on this podcast. Like, just talking with people that are in this similar space that you and I are in, it comes up frequently. And, so anybody listening that hasn't read it, definitely one of those that can just reshape the way you think about approaching not just like entrepreneurship and work, but just like how to live a life and how to maybe automate some of your life so that you can have more time to adventure, travel, explore the world, like you're doing, like he was doing, and like some of the people listening want to be doing. So I think that's pretty awesome. And you've taken it, like, this is what I think is cool, is like you were nomading around, you've done some traveling, seen some things, and then you're what people know you for now is like building like Nomad Cruises and Nomad Safaris and taking people on these pretty epic excursions with like-minded folks. So like, I don't know, like, how do you, when you look back on that, like, how do you bridge that gap? Like how did just nomading around become running, for example, Nomad Cruise and Nomad Base and all of these initiatives?
So the thing is basically that I wanted to solve my own problems. And I really love to travel. But in the first 10 months when I was doing it, I met nobody who was doing that as well. And I did meet a few people, not nobody, but like 5 people. And one guy I was traveling actually with in Brazil. We were kite surfing and we went like to different places in Brazil. And I really enjoyed that when I was actually traveling with someone who was like, web designer, and we could sit down and then in the afternoon we would go kite surfing. And I got really tired of having these backpacking conversations, because actually that's something that I did a long time before. And I wanted to, spend more time with people who were working and traveling as well. But it was for me very, very hard to meet them in 2010. And so whenever I went to a new destination, I had to meet people again. I was not traveling as fast as other backpackers would. I wanted to be social. I wanted to see different places. I didn't just want to live only in Rio de Janeiro, only in Buenos Aires. I wanted to, travel the world, be a nomad and run my online business. But that was so hard. And then I started to, I was actually in Costa Rica. And because I know a lot of the backpacking world, I had the idea that I would create a little ebook that would be like a guide for people who want to travel, like a travel guide for people who work online. That was before Nomad List, actually. And I made this ebook and I started to advertise for that on Facebook. And I did not make many sales. I was actually kind of stupid because I should have just connected that to a community. But I was a bit too scared, to put myself so much into the open public space. Either way, I started this ebook. Some people bought this ebook. and a website called Webwork Travel back then. And when I had over, like, let's say 100 people who bought the ebook, I started a little Facebook group for us. And that was the first Facebook group for digital nomads. And when I invited everyone, I noticed that they were, everyone was like, there were a lot of people who also wanted to join this Facebook group, but I said, like, no, guys, it's only for people who bought the ebook, right? And then I had, over 200 people inside the group and over 1,000 who wanted to join. And then I thought, like, okay, well, let me just open up the group to anyone and let me just share this ebook for free. Like, this cannot be the business model, right? And so the group grew quite fast. And we were, like, very actively exchanging all the ideas. At that time, I had the feeling like I kind of know all digital nomads around the world, because there were not so many who kind of, identified themselves with that topic. And then in 2015, I saw a cruise that was going from Spain to Brazil, and I wanted to, go back to Brazil. And I thought, like, wow, this would be amazing if we just jump together on this cruise ship. And I don't need to, go to Rio de Janeiro, go to Buenos Aires and always start from scratch, but we would just go with the whole community to South America to spend the winter there. Then we can just do all the networking on the boat, and then we can travel together. And that was the idea for the cruise. And I just said, like, let's go. Over 100 people joined this cruise. And people really liked the idea. And we did improve this a lot and turn it into a full conference with talent show. And, we had even Oscar Academy Award winners on that boat with us. And like, really, really cool, journey together. But that was the first cruise. And then we organized over 10 more, which turned it into quite a well-known brand in the digital nomad scene before COVID happened.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot of my guests on the show bring it up, and just, like, casually too, just dropping it in there, like, yeah, I was on Nomad Cruise one, and like, I think a lot of people, I've actually had people write in and be like, wait, what was like, you guys just skipped right past that, like, what's Nomad Cruise? And so anyway, I mean, it's just an epic idea. Like, let's just bring a bunch of people who are all interested in the same kind of thing and put them on a boat and go from one amazing location to another and see what happens. I love it, man. I love it. Is it you have another one coming up this year?
Yes. So basically what happened was that we had our cruise planned for, 2022. 2020. Yes, 2020. And then we had to cancel this when the whole Corona prep started. And now we're, like, planning to bring it back. But the company that we used to do it with doesn't exist anymore. So they also that was the end of their journey as well. And so now at the moment we are doing a lot of negotiations. Maybe when you launched the podcast, we did already announce something, but if not, everyone who's interested can just sign up to the newsletter on our website. We'll definitely have something happening this year.
Nice. We'll make sure to add that website to the show notes so everybody can. What is it right now while people are listening, in case they're
it's nomadcruise.com.
Super
Cruise.
simple.
Yes. Yes.
I like it. So nomadcruise.com, and that's also in the show notes for anybody that wants to just click real quick. We'll be right back to the show after a quick break for a note from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by my good friends over at Greenback Tax, the very best in U.S. expat tax services, and the company that I've trusted to handle my tax situation since I moved abroad in 2015. Greenback is 100% focused on helping U.S. expats with their taxes, and to date, they've filed almost 50,000 returns for nearly 15,000 happy customers like me, living in more than 200 different countries around the world. After 7 years working together, I can say with confidence that they make one of the most painful parts of life abroad an absolute breeze ease with their automated systems that store all of your information for you to make tax filing easy year after year, and the friendly advisors who you actually have a working relationship with. There are no robots over at Greenback. Best of all, everyone is a CPA or enrolled agent with a specialty in U.S. expat taxes, which means they know exactly how to help you take advantage of some incredible tax breaks because you're living abroad, not in spite of it. As of January 23rd, tax season has officially arrived, so it's time to get started. Learn more about Greenback Tax today by visiting greenbacktaxservices.com via the link in the show notes. Hey guys, if you're still around and enjoying this episode, then I think you might actually like our once a month newsletter as well. If you'd like to sign up, just open up the show notes of the episode you're currently listening to, scroll down, and look for aboutabroad.com/newsletter. It takes about 30 seconds to sign up. It's a fantastic way to support the show, and I think you'll be pleased with the information that we provide every month as well. Thanks a lot for listening. Hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. Roughly how many people are on there? Do you guys occupy the entire cruise, or is it just like a group within the bigger group? Or
I mean, we had everything from 150 to 500 people on these trips.
Wow.
Once we went with 500 people to Brazil. And so we don't occupy the whole ship, but it kind of feels like, we all have like the same wristbands and stuff. And you are just, we have private spaces on the ship. Like, so we reserve private spaces, and some things are public. But in general, like, you're just mingling basically with these people. And there are other people on the ship, but you don't really recognize that, or you just have a nice conversation sometimes with them. But
you feel like you've taken over a little bit. Yeah, it feels
like we don't want to take over the full ship, because it would be quite a huge risk to actually block this, and we would actually have to make the cruise a lot more expensive, because the charters are actually more expensive than if you do it like this. But yeah, so we have a part of the ship, and then it's not just about the cruise. So I always say at the end of the cruise that the cruise is just the beginning. It's about the connections and the things that happen after. I mean, people have married, right? They've gotten babies. There's hundreds of collaborations, of business collaborations, where people who have met on the cruise are now working together in some way or the other. So it's a very, very beneficial networking environment. And then as well, when we are arriving in the destination where we're going, we're usually always organizing reunions. So we're not just going to Brazil. Like, we celebrate New Year's together on the Copacabana, and most people actually join for these things as well. Or we went to like a small town in Jericoacoara in Brazil, or in Panama we went to small beach towns. So I think that a lot of people who come on that cruise actually make some of the best memories of their lifetime, not just on the cruise, but on the things that happen after.
Yeah, I've heard that exactly what you said there, that it's the cruise is kind of just the beginning. And I mean, it makes sense in like the literal terms, like you get there and then there's more activities. And then I think also in kind of more like a figurative way, like you make connections and friends and people who, and digital nomads, weave around the world and cross paths again, inevitably. And it's always so cool to meet those people who you connected with once, and let's say on the Nomad Cruise, and then a year later you're skiing together in the Alps or something. And I think that's like there's nothing better than that. And I've heard the Nomad Cruise is like an awesome place to kind of kickstart those relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like especially if you don't know many other nomads yet, or you want to just like get the feel for the lifestyle, it's like the easiest way, because our focus is really on making it super easy for you to meet a lot of people. We have like masterminds, we have speaking workshops, and a lot of stuff that makes it very, very easy without like being forced to make great connections. And the thing is, because everyone on this ship gets to know each other very well between each other, that kind of forms a community. So these people who are this year on the cruise, next year they might, a lot of them might be hanging out in Bali together, or like right now there's a lot of them there are in Koh Phangan in Thailand. Next month we have a lot of people who are meeting in Bali, and that is all originated initially from the cruise.
Man, it's amazing. I love it. It brought something to mind for me. I'm drawing, like as you were talking, it was reminding me of something I'm I'm drawing a blank on it now, but I'll circle back to it. I just think that, something that comes to mind when I think about these is that I see the demographic of people, the digital nomad, what people think of as a digital nomad kind of changing, right? Like you're mentioning masterminds and business connections and things like this. And that's quite different than what I think maybe the general public has thought about the phrase like digital nomads in the past. They would kind of think of just like, young backpackers, like sipping on drinks and tropical destinations and not really like kind of like vagabonding around a little bit. And, but what I see now, and I think what you see and what you're describing is a totally different style than what that perception may have been. And I don't know, does that resonate at all?
Well, to be honest, like when I started, that's all what I wanted to do, right? Like have a lot of free time and enjoy myself and just run the business. So I think that there are different stages. And the thing is just like, if you are serious about this or about living this life, the best way is to have your own business. And the best way is to delegate a lot of your work. And that makes you free, right? And it's much easier these days to get started, but then you still need to have a remote job and be fully employed. And so I think that everyone realizes that if they want to do this more often, they are caring less about their career, but more about the business that builds, the business that they are building with a purpose that it serves their lifestyle. And so it depends on, and for that you need masterminds, you need to do a lot of things. And I did realize, like, if I look at the people who we were like 7 years ago when we went on the first cruise versus what some of these people have built in this time now, it's a completely different scene, right? Like, I mean, some have gotten really, really successful with building their own online businesses and or just getting lucky with crypto. But
let's be honest.
Yes, we also had talks about this stuff on the first Nomad Cruise. So it's really you kind of like if you want to make it work for yourself, you also need to know how to build a business, right? For the long run, it's nice to work in a remote job, and that gives you a lot of freedom. But you'll have even more freedom in the moment when you can delegate a lot of your work, or when you have the position or the standing in the company that they just trust you with anything. So then that's also cool, of course.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that actually brings me to a
or
question.
Or you just save up, right? I mean, a lot of people are living off their real estate investments or other investments. So there's no like one way turn, but you kind of need to build something that works a little bit, not just trading time for money.
Yeah, totally. I mean, actually, so that actually brings me to a question I was going to ask is roughly how long is the Nomad Cruise, and are people working like while you're out at sea, or you disconnect during that time?
No, actually, the main focus is to disconnect and to not even have Wi-Fi. So we have different, we had and we will probably have different routes. The one is going across the Atlantic. So there, the Wi-Fi is not really great, and some people don't even buy like an internet package, which is like another $20 or something per day. And they just, enjoy to not turn on the phone, to not do anything, and just be plugged off. So actually, a lot of people learn to learn to delegate because of the cruise, right? So like a week before, they were like, okay, well, I need to go on this boat, so I need to give some of my tasks to a virtual assistant who will take care of it. But if we do it in Europe, then people are, it's a little bit easier to do work because there would be more stops. And also, I think now with the Starlink internet, the quality of internet will be much better on the ships anyways. But it is a kind of the beauty to just also not have any internet connection.
I like it. I was hoping that was the answer, but I wasn't sure. And I wouldn't have judged you otherwise, but I love that. I mean, I'm just a big fan of like pushing, like we need to be forced to disconnect more and focus on like you're there on that cruise, not to do your normal work, but to build relationships, to learn things that you wouldn't have learned during your normal day to day, and to build connections that you wouldn't have built in your normal day to day. So like, don't taint that experience by just like going onto an awesome place and then just doing the same thing you do elsewhere,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's no need to really like, unless you really have to do the work. It's like the worst thing that you can do is waste your time on this boat with so many people to do some work.
Did you carry that same philosophy over to Nomad Safari that you guys recently did?
Yes, we did the Nomad Safari, and there was well, there was no way that you could do really work. The internet was really shit. We went from South Africa to Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls. It was a great experience, but also, quite a lot of driving and quite tiring for in some ways. But I think also a lot of lifetime memories, and going on safari together with a group of over 30 people on each of the tours. Like we had like different tours. That was quite unique as well. Yes.
Oh man, that's super cool. You were so it was in South Africa, Zimbabwe. Was it those two countries, or was there a
And
third one?
Botswana.
And
Botswana.
Botswana.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
How long were you guys on safari for?
It was a 9-day tour. No, actually 12 days. Yeah. So we went to different, it wasn't like a one safari. It was like different experiences, like going to Kruger Park or going to a place where you're just surrounded by elephants and kind of living between them. Or going on a cruise, that is like full with hippos, like on a river full with hippos and crocodiles and stuff. So we had a lot of different experience in these 12 days. And some days were also just only driving, right? Because it's a very, very long distance. Yeah, I have to add here that this was like the first time that we did organize this. So I think that people had an incredible experience, but in some ways it was also a little bit tiring because it was just really a lot of driving. So now we are going to fine tune the whole experience. And I think that the kind of Nomad Safari 2.0 will be even more amazing. But I can't talk so much about it yet. But I think that we did learn a lot from the thing. But there will be some options, to also get some work done in a better way, to just have more, sometimes be able to enjoy the experience a lot more. I mean, there's going on safari in Africa with a group of like-minded people is something that's really hard to beat. But we're taking out the being quite exhausting factor as well,
Yeah.
and then it will be even better.
This is one of my favorite things, man. Like I do some like retreat planning and trip planning and stuff, and help people with that sort of thing and itinerary creation and stuff. And it's amazing. Like I've been guilty of this in the past too, but it's one of the main things that I feel like I've learned from traveling a good bit is that like less is more in general, and to just take that first draft of the itinerary and just like cut it in half. I was helping somebody plan out a trip recently where they were going to be gone for 9 days and they were going to see like 4 cities, and every other day they're on a train or a plane or a long drive, and it's like, hey, you're gonna check a bunch of stuff off your list, but you're gonna be exhausted, and you're gonna return needing a vacation from your vacation, and so yeah, I mean, like I doubt that you suffer from that at this stage in your nomading career, but I mean, I think it is helpful for people who are just kind of dipping their toe in that water. Like, don't move too fast, sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think that's like the most common digital nomad problem. I mean, a lot of the nomads are also very, very keen to see as much of the world as they can, and then you're like, oh well, this is Colombia. Let me go to Ecuador. Let me go to Peru as well. Maybe Chile as well. And then every week you end up being even in a new country. But I mean, we have so much time. If we think about it, and there's really no need to say, okay, now I need to see all of South America or whatsoever, or maybe we can just do one around the world trip to really know like what the world is like in a year, and then become a nomad and just go where we liked it the most. But I see that there's a lot of rushing, and it's not very productive. And also, in the end, you're actually going to forget a lot of the experience that you had, because it's just so much, it's just way too overwhelming.
Totally. Yeah. What's your like personal pace, like setting the businesses aside, like the nomads groups and communities aside, like what do you, if you've got a year on your own, like what kind of pace are you
I
dealing
mean, in
with?
the beginning, I really went everywhere where I wanted to go. So I can also count myself, maybe it is just the way it is that everyone wants to make these experiences and you're like so excited to go and see all these different countries. But I've done this. So now we've spent basically 3 months in Cape Town until like a few weeks ago, except the Nomad Safari that we organized. And I'm actually going back to Cape Town for another 6 weeks. And then I might go to Bali for another 6 weeks. I'm not planning to travel around a lot there, maybe just get one or two destinations and then like a short stop over in Thailand, then go to Europe, stay somewhere for 2 months. So I'm trying to be everywhere for like ideally about 2 to 3 months.
That's the ideal cadence. Yeah.
Yeah. But I choose the destination wisely, and also like I do know, I know kind of what to expect in most places. So I think that's also the thing, right? If we don't know the word so much yet, then we always have expectations, and we're like, I want this, and then you're like, after a few days, you're getting a bit impatient, and then you go somewhere else.
Yeah, I can relate to this, man. I have this weird dichotomy in me where I really like my routine. I'm pretty slow with travel. Like I like to be in a place for 3 to 6+ months, generally, and like sometimes even longer. Like I came here where I'm at now for 3 months, and then initially, and I've extended it to 9 months, and I just kind of like settling into a place, and I used to joke saying like I wanted to be in a place long enough to get bored of it, and then move on. And I think that was like born a little bit from, just being in a place and feeling like I was just getting settled in, just starting to really enjoy it for all the reasons that I liked it, and then having to leave, And so this is kind of my cadence.
Yeah, that's
now,
even better. I mean, there's really no rush. I mean, but I do understand because I've done this as well, right? Like I understand, like if you're in South America, then you want to see as much as you can. But it is not always the most nomad friendly pace that we end up traveling then.
Yeah, it's so true, man. It's so true. Well, the other side of me also says, dude, you got to go rattle down you got this long list of places you want to go see. And so I'm tempted sometimes just, and I do this occasionally, like just hop on a plane and go somewhere for just a short period of time, just to kind of like scratch that itch. Like I had to see this place. I'm getting ready to go to Madeira pretty soon. And I'm like, I just need to go see Madeira. Just haven't been there before. And so randomly I'll mix that in, but I've kind of figured out that's the pace that works for me. Like just be in a place for a while, take some trips from there. If I need to scratch that itch, and then hopefully I'd like to join more things like what you're doing though. And like be a little bit more surrounded by community. I think I'm really happy that there's more stuff, uniting people who have this mentality around life, nomad community stuff. But like I'm eager to tap into more of it. So it's cool that there's people like you creating it, I guess.
Yeah, it's. I'm just trying to do the one project we didn't talk about yet, but like Nomad Base is like a membership that I created, and really what I realized in general for the whole nomad life is the problem that everywhere we go, or one thing that makes it always hard to switch the destination, even though you want to see quite a lot, is that we always need to start from scratch, right? And we always need to, like, if we now go to Bali, well, maybe we know 3, 4, 5 people there, but not that many. And it's kind of like, okay, do I want to give up my network of 50 people here versus going to Bali and know 2 people there? And so I wanted to also create something that, like when I was on the cruise, we always built this community we always built these communities with each trip. But what I saw was that then these always fall apart, right? Like you're going to an event, you're like all connected, and then it falls apart. And in a way, we already know enough people around the world. Like there's not any more that we need to know, but we just get to know those people that we know a little bit better. But it's hard if everyone is on different terms and traveling here and there. And so what we are trying is to coordinate the travel a little bit, by organizing conferences or like reunions in different places around the world, and just making it easier for people to plan and help each other with their business, but also with their travel plan.
Yeah, so this is kind of the origin of Nomad Base, right? Like
Exactly. Yes.
and was the one that you just did in Cape Town, was this the first edition of that event, or has there been others?
No, we did already. We did organize actually 3 more conferences in Cyprus, Mexico, and Croatia, like in the 1.5 years before. Yeah, but now we are moving a little bit away from organizing conferences. We're just organizing kind of reunions because there's a huge, it takes a lot of work to organize a conference, but the main goal is just to bring everyone together, and not always like that we need to sit in the same room and listen to people speaking, but actually just spending 1 month in one destination, and everyone picks their accommodation where they want to stay or whatsoever. So it's quite informal way of traveling, but in a way a little bit organized.
Nice. I think that's something really nice about just like simplifying it. You're not dealing with a bunch of people that don't know how to travel. You've got people coming in that they know what they're doing. They can pick where they want to stay and then just organize some stuff for them to get together and do as a group.
Exactly. Yes. Makes it a bit easier.
I love it, man. Yeah. You got a lot going on. Do you find it challenging to keep up with all this stuff, or is it like, does it come natural to you?
No, I mean, I find it very challenging, and like there's a lot of it's probably the biggest mistake that I did to start, too many different things. But I also see that everything kind of will, fall in place with each other. It's just like there's like a few unfinished, growing businesses here and there, or ones that, I need to stop for a little while. But in the end, it's all kind of the same thing that works together. But also, I mean, like our focus was the cruise, and then COVID happened, right? So we needed to reinvent something, and reinventing or doing new things takes like work to try out new things, and then also stop a few things. But it's has been sometimes challenging for sure.
I can imagine, man. Well, you're doing a lot of very cool stuff in a very cool space that I think people on About Abroad are going to enjoy learning about. If they hadn't heard of you already, I hope this brings them to your different events and activities and stuff. And hopefully I'll be joining you on one of these coming up before too long as well. Thanks again for coming by, just talking a little bit about everything you're doing. I love following from afar, so it's really cool to finally meet you. And yeah, man, keep up the awesome work.
Yes, thank you so much. It would be great to have you on the cruise or somewhere else. Just let me know when you're ready to join.
I definitely will. I mean, enough of my friends have vouched that it's such an awesome experience and been on the show talking about it. So I think it's about time. Before I let you go, just will you mention these URLs, any websites people might want to go follow, or places where they can go and learn about more? And we'll put all this in the show notes as well.
Yes. So, I mean, just quickly, nomadcruise.com and nomadbase.com. I think these are the two most relevant websites, and the easiest way is, we are on Instagram as well with these things, so you can just look it up there, but the best is just to sign up for the newsletter, as we are bringing a lot of changes to both of these projects.
Nice. I can say for sure I enjoyed following the Nomad Safari on Instagram a lot, so okay. I can personally vouch for that one.
Yeah, that is also, nomadsafari.com is also a channel, but there we are a little bit on hold, so we will probably announce how it continues around October. At the moment we're just cleaning up the account, and we're making plans already for the future.
I love it. Well, best of luck with that. Again, look forward to following along and hopefully catching up in person before too long. Thanks again, Johannes. Great to meet you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. For those of you wondering how you can best support the show, I have made it super simple for you. Just go over to the show notes of the episode that you just finished listening to and click on one of the two following links. aboutabroad.com/newsletter to get our monthly newsletter, no spam, guaranteed, or ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, where you can quickly and easily leave a review for the show. It's not just important to me, it also helps more wanderers just like you find us. Finally, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and we will see you again next week. Thanks again. Hasta luego, amigos.